Welcome to the Loyal Locals podcast. I'm Drew Steck. What's up, Steve? How you doing,
How you
man?
doing, man? I'm hanging in there. Really
Why are
excited
we?
to
Yeah,
finally be back.
yeah. To like do a home show. I've been doing road shows,
Yeah.
reaction shows. You got to be part of one of the road shows. We tried to get you in the reaction show. You were just
I
having too
know.
much fun in Vegas, man.
Ooh. Yeah. I remember when the you guys were at the watch party and you sent me that link and you tried to get me on, and I joined, and then I was having too much like internet problems where the stadium was that just didn't work out. But the happy blessing was that's kind of exactly when the club was coming out, so I got to kind of go over and cheer the boys on as they loaded them onto the bus, and it was a really rad experience. So
It's definitely more important. Yeah,
yeah.
saying good job to the players that just kicked ass. So that's awesome, man. It's been fun doing those. It's been a change in format. Let us know if you think we can do more there, or you have ideas in terms of what you'd like to see there. I tried to do one at the last match. I got a little distracted because too many New Mexico supporters kept asking me for scarves, so I had to sell them scarves. But I was going to do one where I asked some people a question. We'll see. Maybe I'll do that on the bus tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll make it a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a lot to talk about, man. Between the aforementioned just bus right there and the last few matches. So to kind of dial it back, since we did a home show like this, that we formally broke down scores and everything. We had an away trip to LA. We had a we had the we actually had the away trip to Vegas. We had an away trip to LA. We had
It's been a while, huh?
yeah, we had the home we had the home game on that Sunday. Then we had this other home game this Sunday, so against New Mexico, and it's been quite the few weeks here. It seems like we went from last time we were talking like this. It was we hope we'll make the playoffs. We think we'll make the playoffs. Now we're in the playoffs. So that's one big change, and the other one is we're really hoping we get that second playoff spot too. We better get that second playoff spot. It's right in front of us, and we can definitely accomplish that with just another win or two here. So it's a good spot to be sitting in. I personally think this is a good thing. Maybe we should podcast less like this. Just do it once every month. Check in, and we'll do better. I don't know. It's part of the fun of doing these shows is riding that roller coaster with you. But how are you feeling in terms of where the club is at, and then relate it to what you're drinking? Because I'm gonna go grab what I'm drinking because I also need water.
Yeah, right on. We are going to slow down and break down a few of those games, but currently I'm stoked. Sitting at a really, really good place. If tomorrow is our big bus trip yet again. We are recording this on Tuesday night. The bus trip is on Wednesday. So if you are listening to this before that and you're on the bus, get as excited as I am. If you're listening to this on Wednesday and you're not on the bus, next time, don't miss out. If you're listening to this after, you can probably skip a lot of the hype that we're going to have on the podcast. But first, we're going to rewind. But as far as position on the table, it's exciting, man. It's exciting. The second place, we're in a really good run of form right now. I know we just drew to New Mexico in kind of heartbreaking fashion.
What?
And again, we'll get to that. But yeah, we're playing some really good soccer. All on top of Jack Blake being injured, so we finally saw some minutes out of him. He's getting back into the fold, and just imagine what the squad is going to look like going into the playoffs. We've talked about it on this podcast, and I think as general sports fans, you kind of think about, hey, it's nice to play well during the season, but what really matters is momentum going into the playoffs. And man, we're playing some really, really good soccer right now. Again, despite that draw against Mexico, it kind of really feels like we're going into the playoffs with a full head of steam, and going into tomorrow's game. So, yeah, like I said, I think we're going to rewind and kind of go back to the Sacramento game, at least a little bit, because there's some exciting shit that went on in that game. But from a current assessment perspective, man, I'm stoked. I'm so stoked, and I'm so hyped for tomorrow.
So hype. What are you drinking though? That was the one thing you didn't get to.
Oh yeah, I'm drinking Deftones. It's a hazy IPA from Belching Beaver.
Ooh, delicious. Yeah. I'm having a Manhattan from my drink fridge.
Wow, look at
I
you
went hard
fans
tonight. I'm pre
celebrating.
gaming for tomorrow. I'm getting ready the night before.
You're prepping your liver.
Yeah, exactly. It's like hitting the pool, the Olympic pool the night before. Your meet. You're just kind of like, I'm gonna get in, just do some nice strong laps, and then tomorrow I'll be just hit the water and already feel like I'm there. That's how I'm going.
Yeah.
No, that I didn't realize. And I was like, oh, I actually have this really sweet AleSmith beer, the flower beer. So maybe I'll bring that on the bus tomorrow. Maybe you can find me and have some of those, or maybe I'll have one later in the podcast. We'll see. But this is what I poured for myself as a treat. Anyway, the the Sacramento match was interesting, right? You had all these kind of kid groups. You had a lot of different groups coming in that were in terms of making sure a match sold out and came to what it was supposed to be. It ended up being a pretty great crowd in terms of everybody who was there. And I personally thought that it was one of those games where you were waiting for something to go differently than where it went, because it just felt like it was exactly what you'd want as a loyal fan in terms of how it came out. And we'll get to kind of what happened this last Sunday in terms of where it landed us. But that match was definitely, I think, where I started to feel like, okay, we're really just going in the direction that we want to go here, which was great. And the crowd was, I think, what partially helped lift it up over, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Something about, end of the season, Saturday match, getting close to the playoffs. Maybe it had to do with the Padres season being over. There were a lot of fans there that I know are Padres season ticket holders that were super excited to be there. So I don't really know what it was, but yeah, that atmosphere was just electric. Late season Saturday night match, a lot on the line. Sacramento's kind of been reeling these past few months. They're definitely not the team that they were in last season or the season before. They have a lot of retooling to do, but overall, that was just before we even get to the match. Just like so good to see that it was like the game was selling out, and we had gotten word from the club that 109 had a few tickets left, so we kind of went on social media and said, hey, you guys call the ticket office, because we don't really have an avenue set up for online. We don't really want to sell random tickets to random people. We want to sell supporters tickets to supporters who want to be there. So we're going to work on that in the off season, don't worry. But at the end of the day, we did have some tickets left, and I know that those got gobbled up pretty fast. It was a sellout. So, it was really, really exciting to see. And I just hope that kind of continues, that momentum continues. I know Sunday matches are not as, we don't get as much attendance, but we're kind of handcuffed by USD football right now. So that being said, this last match of the season coming up, we'll talk about this as well, should be awesome. And then the potential for a home playoff match will be just incredible. So a few more potential home matches going forward, but we really need you guys all to show up and show out and really bring it like we have the past few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about that match was it felt like that was the one where if you had said, I'm coming, but I hadn't come to a match all year, or I'm, wanted to go and I just haven't gone yet, that was the match that most people seem to make it out to. Anecdotally, Mr. Duffy in the comments over here, our number one commenter tonight, our trivia host guy randomly decided to check out the game of the weekend. I bumped into him at halftime. He was so excited to talk about it tonight. It was his first ever soccer match. So I did hear that anecdote from not just Nick here, but a number of different people that just got the bug, and I think did come back for the New Mexico match, or are looking at, hey, when's a night that does work for me to come back in the near future? Hopefully they come back for the playoff game. But as we move forward, I do think that's going to be something we talk about, is Sunday versus Saturday. And it shouldn't matter really when you have a fan base that could sell out, 10,000 or 12,000 seats. We should be able to sell out about a 6,000 seat seater, depending, Friday through Sunday. We should be able to do that. But it is one of those things where, as you're trying to do that, I'd rather take a Sunday over a Wednesday. I'd say that much. But it is one of those things where it does open. You get more people who are able to come to these things that normally don't come because it's a Saturday, and they just won't risk their Sunday or Sunday afternoon maybe to get there just because it is a weird time or it's more difficult. But that atmosphere is really why we do what we do. I think in a lot of ways is nights like that. And being able to kind of bring the energy and teach new people what supporter culture looks like, and how a match maybe is different than what they've seen at, a kid's game, right? You go to a kid's soccer game, and are they vastly different in terms of the sport they're playing? No, they're both trying to kick the ball in the net, but that's the difference at even the USL level and the community level is the passion, the excitement of nights like that. So it really was one of those matches where, for me, I look at, moving forward and saying, how do we make every match like that in terms of every experience? But
Sure.
some nights the stars just align, and things work out the way they're supposed to, where it's a little bit tentative, and then you bang what you want to in the second half, right in front of the locals. That's the way it's supposed to work. And, and everybody goes nuts. I think that's the way it's supposed to happen. Right. So,
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, that was a fun match. I mean, obviously, to kind of go there, SD Loyal won 2-1 beat Sacramento, but it was really the way we played. That game did not play like a 2-1 game. That game played like a 4-1 game. And there's something to be said about, hey, if it plays like a 4-1 game, you got to win 4-1. You got to score more goals. But at the same time, we really saw Guido put his stamp on the game. He really played well. And kind of everybody really seemed to click. I do want to give a special shout out to Miguel Ibarra, because I think he's played exceptional at his right back role, with obviously Metcalf being out with his collarbone injury, and then Oliver Larraz has also been injured, so he hasn't really been playing, and we did it at right back. So Miguel Ibarra slotted in, and if you know his career, he's not a right back, but
No.
man, he's played well. He's really played well there. So that's just want to give a big shout. He put in a shift that game. He was kind of my second choice for man of the match if Guido hadn't just completely stolen the show. So obviously, just to really, really briefly recap, Sacramento went up in the 30th minute on a goal. We had a couple yellow cards in the first half. Early sub in the second half, Callum Montgomery came off. Douglas Martinez came on, kind of an attacking sub, and then Guido scored in the 54th minute. And then pretty quickly thereafter was that beautiful goal that made its rounds on social media that I think I watched 100 times. Just played right out of the back, one touch, beautiful soccer. Found Guido in space, and Guido just laid a inch perfect through ball to Douglas Martinez, who sidestepped the keeper and just slotted it home. And I mean, when I say inch perfect, if it was 2 inches to the left, it goes too far. If it's 2 inches to the right, the defender cuts it out. Those are the kind of plays that only Alejandro Guido can make on our team. Maybe only Guido can make in all of USL. It's impeccable. It's the kind of stuff you can't replace. So, and then obviously the rest of the game, we kind of held on, which isn't the story for the next match we'll talk about. But I just want to give a huge shout out to Guido that game, and then we'll talk about the post game celebration. Or Drew, would you like to take it there?
Oh, well, I was going to say with Guido, what's interesting is he had that one shot that he should have scored, right? He had that open net right in front of him, and I felt like it could go one of two ways past that, right? He either was going to have a great night and overcome it, and that was going to just be a misfire or a shot on target he could have had that he just put right at the keeper. But it seemed to be, again, that was, a outlier or maybe just a string of play that didn't result in the goal the way that the other ones did. But he definitely was feeling it that night in a certain way that we haven't seen from him until the last 2 to 3 games, where he went from not knowing, being our 10, playing okay, going to, and then we lost Rubin again, right? And then
Right.
he goes from being a 10 to being an 8, and kind of trying to shift his way through. And we all said, where's Guido? What's Guido doing? Where's he going? And then really finding his way as an 8 once they plugged him in and said, okay, we're going to play you as an 8 for sure, as opposed to this weird like 10-8 hybrid. And now we're seeing the fruits of that as he's able to go from 8 back to 10 in some ways, or advance even further forward in certain formations, or depending who the personnel on the field is, where he can kind of play back to front and give Charlie some cover in the back, as well as come all the way forward and give these, as we said, we don't play a lot of through balls, but when we do, they're friggin' amazing. And in this case, in his case, he's been doing a lot of that in the last few games, and it's going to be the recipe for success between that and hopefully getting Jack Blake back on the end of a few of those. And you're going to have a big recipe for success here in terms of the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I think that things are clicking really well right now, and I'm really, really interested to see how Blake he's going to get reincorporated since he's seemingly finding some health. Again, he dressed and he did sub in for this last match. The team seems to be clicking super
Celebrations.
well. We seem to be finding, a lot of form right now, which I'm stoked on. And sometimes, it's these are I call them champagne problems or Cadillac problems, where you're thinking, I got too many good players, and how do I get them all on the field? And sometimes you got to make hard choices and hard sacrifices. And I mean, I don't know if I call it a Wally Pipp situation where his spot's been taken necessarily, but everybody seems to be really playing well right now.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of hard for me to say I want Blakey starting right this second, because what are we supposed to do? Like, you can't disrupt what's really working. Colin Martin's exceptional, Charlie's exceptional. Everybody's really playing so well right now. It's hard for me to say let's get him in there and take away somebody when it's just all kind of working well. So all this being said, I'm glad that I'm not the manager of San Diego Loyal right now. I'm glad that Landon Donovan is, and that he has to make those decisions, and I get to just sit here and criticize him for it. So,
exactly. I mean, it's like, who are you going to take out? Like, if you even think like, okay, Doogie's had that was one of his best games. Even though we tied, that was one of his better games this last game. So it really is hard to choose who is going to go where. And the hope is that we have the right guys for the right games. And that's really the way I look at it, is you hope you have the right personnel to where we have everybody firing and we can choose who we want where, right? And that's the ideal for any playoff scenario for any team. But across our bracket, looking at the big red and black team, they're not looking great right now, right? So I would rather be where we're at, where we're playing really, really well, and seemingly playing our game, even in games where we might not come out with the result, all 3 points, like this last night, or not last night, this last weekend. But that seems to be the theme here. And speaking of that, celebrations. We get to celebrate when we win or don't lose. And even when we do lose, we still elected a man of the match there. But for the Guido, as we said, he was excellent in that Sacramento match and part of that Saturday atmosphere. Part of the nice part was there was 2 bottles instead of 1 bottle, right? When he came to collect his man of the match growler. And it's something had gotten back to us through the grapevine was, hey guys, this is awesome, but I don't really drink beer at all.
Yeah, that wasn't.
I don't. Yeah,
I don't think that you were on the platform earlier in the season when he did win man of the match. But that wasn't through the grapevine. That was a direct,
straight directly.
Yeah, I think he won 2 weeks in a row, and the second week
I do remember that. Yeah,
he was kind of really honest with us, and he's like, "Guys, I love it, but I don't really drink beer." And so I think it was Travis who was the first one.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That was like, yeah. Well, he said, "I don't really drink beer. I drink tequila."
Yeah,
and so I think
I only really drink tequila is what he said. I think so. It wasn't even like there's another liquor for him. He's like, I really only drink tequila. That's all I really drink.
So I think, and shouts to Travis, obviously came up with the idea, the bottle, the design, everything about it. Just massive shouts to Travis. But we've brought that back every single week because
it's been sitting there.
We've been waiting, and I say we brought it back again. Shouts to Travis.
Again, Travis. It's a labor of love. Yeah, exactly, and something that he puts his literal sweat into, getting those bottles to look professionally done. Which as far as I know, they are. They're incredible. So,
but we finally had the chance. Guido, did an incredible job, and he came up the stairs and he got gifted his LDS tequila, and I think he enjoyed himself. I know on the platform he wanted to unwrap it and have some, but it was pretty well wrapped just to make sure there was no leakage during all of the weeks and months. So I know they got it unwrapped on the Unnamed Soccer on Match Day Live, the post game show.
Oh, those guys, free booze. They'll find a way.
Yeah, shouts to Darren and Jordan for imbibing, and they've relayed back to me independently that it was high quality stuff. So again, shouts to Travis.
From
Just
Darren, that's a high
not trying to
compliment,
say.
actually.
Yeah,
Darren
but
Darren is a hard judge of that kind of stuff too. So that's actually means a lot coming from him. The other
if you
thing
can
I will
kind of
say about
see
it, I was going to say the rapping. The rapping,
yeah,
to Travis's credit, again, just details is what you look for with this stuff. It was wrapped in orange, wire wrapping, kind of the way you might find a fancy bottle of tequila, 109 times. So it is one of those things where, again, details matter, especially in art, and specifically wrapped 109 times. It was going to be a little harder to get off on the podium. It took him a little while to get to it, but obviously he really wanted that victory tequila. And it is one of those things where, as players express their personalities to us, we're able to do this kind of stuff.
right.
And it just takes a line, or it just takes a one talk, right? In terms of an interaction or an interview or something like that. If they give us these little morsels, we will jump on it. We will do something fun with it in this case, and it was just an awesome moment because it is you store that joy away. Like, you built up that joy when I first saw it, which was a few months ago, and I was like, this is going to be amazing. And then it just sits there, and then you're like, oh wait, he won this match, that means we get to do it. Like, that was just what was so cool, was to see how much he enjoyed that, and how the wait was 100% worth it, I think, for everybody on both sides.
Yeah, you could just kind of see it in his face. And I mean, we've exchanged a few messages here and there, and he, I could just tell how much he appreciates that. How we remembered that and we thought of it. But yeah, that was I just want to give a really like rad note to how special that kind of celebration man of the match was at that Sacramento game.
Totally.
Okay, so moving on from that SAC game, 2-1, obviously sitting in a really good place, leading into the next weekend. Playoff berths and clinching was near, and actually we didn't have to do anything after that game to technically clinch the playoffs. On Saturday, the 16th, Oakland Roots lost to Orange County, and that dropped Oakland far enough down the table that we could no longer mathematically miss the playoffs. So that means we clinched a playoff berth on the 16th. We are currently in the playoffs no matter what. So it's exciting. It's awesome. There's no other way to say that. I put it on Twitter. I know, Drew, you said something cool, something rad too. I know Jerry as well. A lot of people have, but it just from my perspective, I just kind of want to sit on my little pedestal here. We put a ton of work into this over many years. Drew, you as well. A lot of people involved, all of leadership. Even if you're not leadership, you guys are a huge key piece of what we're building here. And so this feels like it's, it feels like it's a stepping stone, but it also feels good. It feels good to kind of make those playoffs and kind of get to a position where we know we've clinched a playoff spot. Last year, with everything that kind of happened at the end of the season, and obviously not even being able to attend, it was just all pretty odd. And it was heartbreaking for many reasons at the end of last season, for Colin and Elijah first and foremost, but also that we were so close to the playoffs and that it didn't happen for us. And again, I'm so proud of what the club did, way over what the playoffs meant. But it was within grasp, and then we didn't make them. And here, finally clinching, is kind of like, wow, here we are, second year, pretty comfortably sitting in second place. But there's a lot to that playoff berth. It's kind of a nice moment to sit back and go, damn, we've put a lot of work into this, and here we sit. We've made the playoffs. We've gotten to the dance. You kind of never know what's going to happen from there. And the next step in the continual work we have this season continues tomorrow at OC. If we win, we host a playoff game, and obviously the club is way better at home than they have been away. So we finally, that would be a big advantage for that first round of the playoffs. So I'll step off my pedestal now and just kind of say that that playoff clinching, even though we didn't do it by winning or drawing or getting a result, it kind of happened from circumstance. It was still like a really relaxing, kind of a sigh of relief and a moment for celebration because of all the hard work that we've put in and all the hard work that the club's put in to build what we've all built in just year two.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it means a lot in a few ways, as you said. And it's really well said, man, because it's what I've been thinking about since we clinched was this is amazing, but it almost feels like the way you want it, even though last year you would never want it to end the way it did, right?
Right.
In the sense of we weren't even if we would have gone to the playoffs last year, we wouldn't have been able to attend. Really, we might have been, but probably not.
No way.
And so it's one of those things we're just working out the way that it did and meaning what it means now after what happened last year, and doing it in such a fashion where it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't at the last second, it wasn't game 163 or whatever. They they did it. They just came in. They said, "Hey, a goal. We're going to the playoffs, and we're going to try and win a championship." And it wasn't negligible. It was something that they put forward and strive to. And now we're able to do it and hopefully celebrate with the fans in a way that means so much more. Especially just specifically with this club and what happened at the end of our last season, but also
Yeah.
with everything that happened in our inaugural season, which was our fans have been kept from this team. They've been kept from emotional moments from this team and being able to bond with this team and being able to have those synapses that fire and then create those memories with this club. We've been denied that by nature and obviously in this case, society to some extent. But that's where we're at is now we have the ability to do this. Now it's happening. The club is doing exactly what they said they would do. And as a fan, that feels awesome. And as a supporter, it feels like everything that we've wanted to be at. So kudos to
Yeah.
everyone
That's well
here
said.
because as you said, I think it is like it's something we all did together. It's not just the club, it's not just us, but the players on the field feeling what we feel and enough of us being vocal and supporting them. And whether it's an Instagram DM where it's just like, hey, man, this looks cool or whatever, like you're doing it. So keep doing it because it's working and we're doing a great job. So thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, off our pedestals down to New Mexico. Gross. But not gross. It was really fun having this group here this weekend. This is really the first time we've had a real away supporter group in terms of people coming from a place that's not in our region, that's not a rival in the form of Phoenix, who we didn't want to talk to, we maybe didn't want to host for beers, versus people who were very kind to us. And when we first started as a supporters group, when we first started as a club, have always said, hey, we really love this league. We love this sport. We really want to help you, and we want to see you be as successful as we've been in the few years that we've been around. And when they came out here in person, felt exactly the same. And I don't think I've ever felt in a way or a competitive match where I cared enough about the away group to where I said like, "Hey, welcome." And you know what? Like at the end of the day, the fact that they got a draw, yeah, there's a lot. Like I'd be way more mad if it was Phoenix than I was about New Mexico, given the fact that we had already gotten our playoff berth, and they are just such good people. Like they really get it, and they get what they're trying to do. So really cool
Yeah.
hanging out with the Curse beforehand, and
And they showed
Yeah.
up. They showed up at Coronado beforehand. We kind of did that as more of a formal pregame. This time in the past, it's kind of just been like an informal gathering. But this time we contacted Coronado, kind of told everybody we were coming. And then, yeah, exactly what I was getting to, Gabe. These people were awesome. And I think what I kind of learned from this is that obviously we all know we kind of live where people vacation, right? But this was like a perfect example of that, right? Like people live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they support this team. And this was like one of their summer vacations. You know, they planned. People I talked to got here Wednesday and they're leaving Tuesday, and they're just like getting away, but they planned it around their team's trip. So I think with what I hope is they return back to that regular normal USL championship schedule, which is we play every Western team home and away. That includes Colorado Springs, that includes Albuquerque, that includes Tulsa, that includes Tacoma. Like it includes all the teams that we have played. We've played two unnormal or not unnatural USL championship schedules, with obviously season one being COVID, and then this season being with four divisions. The traditional USL championship schedule is much different. So I'm really hoping that we get back to that, and then we could travel more, we could host more groups, because yeah, like Drew said, the only real away presence I think we've had. I mean, Phoenix, yeah, obviously they've shown up, and that was going to be my answer. And I guess I'll regress a little bit. OC showed up with their bus, their club organized bus, not supporters organized bus, and they made some noise. They were good people. LA Galaxy too, when they played here, they had some LA Galaxy proper supporters and supporters group show up, and they made some noise as well. But I'll say,
but
from
like us
kind of
tomorrow,
perspective,
yeah,
the curse, like they shut up, and I want to give them massive props, because not only were they loud, but they were good people, like really respectful, really happy to be here. Thanked us for having them and hosting them. Everybody wanted to exchange scarves. I ran out of scarves, but they were really good people. So I want to give a massive shout out, and I just hope to make their return trip to Albuquerque next season. Before we get to the game.
Yeah, I mean they get it, whatever that is, right? They get what being a supporter is. They get what American soccer supporting is, which is trying to create a atmosphere where we don't have to kill each other in streets or fight each other with flares or whatever. And maybe we can do weird, cool shit, but like we don't have to bring animosity directly into the equation. Sometimes it enters, sometimes it exists, and there's nothing you can do about it. In the case of places like Portland and Seattle, right? Like those two cities are always going to have animosity because that's the way they feel about each other. But they still, at the end of the day, recognize that it's a sporting event and that it's a game, right? And that's where we differ from some of the other countries that have great sporting traditions and understand this sport to their soul across their entire country. But unfortunately, with that sometimes comes animosity and physical altercations and violence. And luckily in America, we haven't seen a lot of that. And what I do love is that this continues a lot of that tradition that I would like to see more of, which is being able to have a friendly match, even if it's a competitive match, but a friendly match between supporters where you can kind of build up and support what each other's doing, because really we're just shades of, the same block. We really are the same people. We're just living in different places and supporting different clubs in this case. And so that's what was so nice to have that kind of symbiotic moment to say, oh, we're worrying about this. And they're like, oh yeah, we worry about that a lot too, right? Like getting back to being in person after COVID and stuff like that. We talked with their supporters group leadership a little bit about that and just having beers and kicking back. I mean, and them going, this is really great beer. And we go, yeah, we drink it all the time. And again, I can't wait to go out to Albuquerque and do some Breaking Bad, remakes on our Twitter feed, Steve. We can go. You can be Walter White. I'll be Jesse. Well, but no, they were just awesome. And then the match, we'll get to it here. Didn't disappoint. I do think it was pretty nice to have them there in the stands. The nice part was we tricked them into pre-gaming with us, so they had to come up the hill late, and so we were able to get into the stadium a little bit earlier than they did. But they did show up in number once there. They filled out the section pretty well over there, and it's always nice to have that because you do feel like it amps us up just a little bit more when you have that competition in the stadium to say, hey, we got to be a little louder, we got to be not leaving too many breaks or not letting them feel like they're hearing themselves too much. We have to make sure it's our home and that we own it. So I think we came to do that. But overall, we played our game. We moved the ball end to end. We really didn't feel like we were giving them much. Oh, sorry. Hiccups again. In the way of chances, we had a few balls off the post in the first half. That really felt like the difference in that first half. Is if we land one or two of those shots in off the post, we probably run away with that game. To be honest, we were playing pretty well, and it felt like we were the better team. It's just one of those ones where we didn't hit the shots off the post. They defended just well enough. They picked their spots, and we get our goal. We're doing what we're supposed to do. We're doing our job. And I up to that point felt like, okay, we should definitely get a second goal, because if you only have one goal, what can happen is you can dramatically lose 2 points in the kick of a leg. That's the way the sports works. But it didn't ever feel like that was going to happen till honestly like the 85th, 90th minute, that it was like, oh no, we definitely needed that second goal, right? It's always in the back of your head, Steve, but I didn't feel that until like 85 or 90. I was like, oh no, we really needed that second goal. This is getting a little
Yeah.
tight.
And it kind of goes back to something that I thought we maybe nipped in the bud halfway through the season, with finishing games.
Yep.
And I know Austin talked about it a lot on his post game interviews. So if you haven't seen those, please go check them out. Austin is an incredibly authentic, awesome person. So go check those out. But yeah, it kind of just goes back to finishing games, and I will give props. It was an astonishing finish, and it was a really good play. But even though you give props, you still have to do better to stop it. They found too much space, and it was literally the final 30 seconds of the game, and I'd have to go back and kind of watch and really dissect the play to say who switched off or kind of what happened. But at the end of the day, you just can't have that kind of stuff happen as we gear towards the playoffs. And I know I've kind of been really positive towards how the club is playing right now. These moments scare me because all of a sudden you go up in a match, and it's the 94th minute and you're up a goal. Do we have the confidence that this team is going to close the game out and win, or is this going to happen and it's going to go to overtime, or maybe that's the game winner right there and then we're out of the playoffs? Like, how heartbreaking would that be, right? And we're talking about a draw against New Mexico and a somewhat inconsequential game for us, because now we still have a lot to play for with second place. We're not going to catch Phoenix. That's guaranteed. So, there's not a whole lot on the line for us in that pass game. There's a lot on the line for us tomorrow, obviously, but you want to start thinking about these games in a playoff situation, because all of a sudden we find ourselves playing or hosting a game and this happens even with the home field advantage. That's concerning. And we've seen this too often this season. So we really need to maintain our focus and just be able to finish games out. And I think it's a lot easier said than done, me sitting here drinking beer on my back patio. But at the same time, I think it's a fair criticism. You look at the data and there's something to that. There's a switch that kind of flips off. Seemed like from the 85th minute on, we were just kind of like clenching and holding on tight, and then it wasn't enough, So
I don't want that to be our signature. Yeah, no, you don't want that to be what the team's about.
Can't be
right?
the way we go out either. Yeah,
no, and I root for too many teams that do this. Like all of my teams. Right. So like don't make that a thing. Like the Sacramento game is the closest I felt to how it felt at the end of this, and I felt a little more gutted there because it was at a run of bad games. It felt like where it just wasn't working out the way we wanted to, or kind of killing it was hitting a downslope where you felt we were kind of grading off, and that was the confirmation. This feels more like a blip on a upward trajectory where we've been doing good. You can see my in camera guest over here, Alfie, is trying to bury socks over here. Very much the shame of how I think our club felt in terms of what they were doing, what happened here at the end of these games. Is you want to bury it and move on, but at the same time you have to analyze and say there's something there that's happened 2 to 3 times at least in this season where within the last kick or two of a game, you're going to give up points that you should have. And so it's inexcusable. We shouldn't do it. But at the same time, I think you have to hope that these moments prepare us for the playoffs, where when it does come up to the 92nd, 93rd minute, everybody's in the right frame of mind of, I need to be on a player. I can't let him get a foot on a ball in the box, and we just can't let that happen. And that's exactly what happened here. You can't get too mad. It was a beautiful goal. It was really well done, and the dude scored a great goal. I mean, I'm looking at it back. It was like, okay, it's going to be what it's going to be, but you have to mark players there. There's things you can do to close out games. Teams do it, and those teams win, and then other teams just don't. And there's the coach who's actually the best at this, even though he's not a great soccer coach, is Bruce Arena. If you watch his MLS clubs over the years, they're really just great at like shit housing in the last like 5 to 6 minutes, and they do it really, like they know how to close out games, and that's why he won championships with LA Galaxy and has been one of the more successful coaches in a league where it is a little more about smacking the other guy in the face than it is maybe tactics, and that's how it goes sometimes. Is you have to throw that to the side and say, how do we just make sure that we tactically do the right things, but also keep them from even getting the ball into your final third to create that kind of scenario in the first place.
Yeah. So before we move on from this, I do kind of want to rewind a little bit and give a huge shout out to Austin. Obviously, if you were there or you saw anything on social media after the game, Austin Guerrero was the locals man of the match. He was the entire reason we were still in that game. And I think,
Yeah.
Drew, we talked about, we played comfortably, we played pretty well, but they had their chances. I think that both of those things can exist. We played really well, but they took the chances that they did have and created good goal scoring opportunities. And even the one that wasn't, I don't know if you can call a free kick a goal scoring opportunity or kind of a chance in that sense, but that free kick save was it was incredible. Like, and he had many other saves in that match. That it was the entire reason that we were still up 1-0 going into stoppage time. That game could have easily been 2-1 New Mexico or even 1-1 New Mexico, and then they score that goal and take the 3 points instead of the draw. So massive shout out to Austin. I think he's done an impeccable job since Trey went down. I think he's stated his case to be the number one going into next season, kind of not needing to do
100%.
a John Kempen replacement like we did last year, right? Kempen was incredible last year. And then we got Trey. Trey was incredible at the beginning of the season. He went down and Austin has just kind of slotted right in. And I think he's been very, very good. So I think there was some worry about his overall quality going in. Obviously, he wasn't the number one at the start, but here we are and winning our man of the match. Even though that goal in at the end, he didn't get the clean sheet. We didn't get the 3 points. He was definitely the sole reason in my mind that we were kind of still in that game.
You look at those saves; they're incredible. I mean, it's no Trey makes maybe makes those saves, but at the same time, you don't know. And he doesn't make the one at the end. Nobody makes the one at the end. John Kempen doesn't make the one at the end. Mm-hmm. So he did have. There was two of them actually that I'm just like, man, where it's just the entire. He was like a cartoon character where he threw his body in the air, almost not knowing, and the ball was dipping and almost changing, and then was able to thrust his body enough while in the air to get enough on his right hand to punch it enough to where it wouldn't roll back behind him into the goal and rolled out enough. Like, that's just incredible physical control to have. And I'm glad that he's our keeper, and I'm glad he has that incredible physical control. And I think we talk a lot about his legs, a lot about his strengths as a tactician, as a keeper, and not necessarily about his shot stopping ability, which is immense. It is really, really good, and up there with Trey and anybody else who we've ever had on our roster, including Kempen. So, as we said, John is a different, freakish level I think I've ever seen in terms of a goalkeeper up close. I just seen him do things, but Austin was right up there that night. I felt like that's why we were going to walk out, was because he was just so solid and had the game read so well that it just felt that way. And unfortunately, again, there's nothing you can do when the other team makes a better play than you. That's why you play the game, so that the players can make plays on the field. And it gave New Mexico something to smile about on the way home when they made their vacations out here for 4 or 5 days. They didn't go home completely empty hand. We sent them home with a souvenir, and their souvenir was a point. It's like a shot glass version of a souvenir. Here you go. You got something at the airport. But for us, and for us, it didn't kill our season, right? We're still in a great spot, and we're still going to be in a good place here for this match tomorrow.
I'll say that that's another point I had in these notes. This was that was basically New Mexico's lifeline for the playoffs. If they didn't get a point out of that game, it wouldn't have been mathematically eliminated, right? But that would have been almost a death sentence for them. So that would have been that game. I'll say this: that game meant a lot more to them for their playoff chances than it did to even our second place chances. So there was a lot. We just talked about being able to close games out, but there was maybe a little bit of fire in that those players knew what that game meant to them, and it meant everything. It meant everything to them. So again, great goal. Sometimes you just got to throw your hands up and go, "That's a good goal." At the same time, you hate to see it. So it is what it is. Okay, so looking at 45 minutes, we talked about 2 past games and some hype going forward. But let's turn the page and look towards tomorrow. Tomorrow's match, Wednesday the 20th at Orange County SC. They are currently sitting behind us in the table. Even on matches played, I believe they're 3 points behind us. It might be 4 points. I'll look that up. But they are behind us. If we win tomorrow, we clinch second place in the Pacific Division. That means we host a playoff match. That playoff match, by deduction, would be on the 7th of November. USD football plays on the 6th at home. So, it's pretty obvious that we would play on the 7th. That is still a Sunday, but it is incredibly exciting because we have been way, way better at home than we have been away. And so while we can talk a lot about that, that's a different rabbit hole to go into. I just want to sit here and focus on how much fucking fun we're going to have on that bus tomorrow.
Wait, we're on a bus tomorrow?
Yeah, so the bus, again, is sold out again on a Wednesday.
Again.
Yeah, so another weekday bus. I can only imagine what a bus trip would be like on a Saturday or a Sunday. Unfortunately, that wasn't in the cards this year.
It's almost like those clubs don't want us to play them on those days.
Right.
Weird.
It's almost like it's on purpose.
Weird.
But yeah, so I'm so stoked. We're running this back. If you were on the bus a few months ago, back in June, we did the same thing, another Wednesday. So tomorrow we are running it back. The bus is completely full, 52 people. And there's a lot of others who are doing separate tickets and driving themselves. And good on them. But we will see you in Orange County, and we will be well lubricated, well energized, with a lot of camaraderie and spirit and friendship, filling our souls and ready to sing for our club. So I'm so excited for the bus trip. I do know that there's, just like last time, there's a handful of people from the club that will be on the bus. There's going to be a kind of one of their main photographers is going to be joining us, which I think is going to be really rad. I know he does want to do some interviews and talk to some folks on camera if possible. So if you're up for that, kind of let us know, let me know, and we can connect you. But I think that'll be a pretty cool feature and some cool footage for the club to use going forward. So that'll be pretty rad. But
and if I ask you questions on the bus, it's totally for the club too. Just go with it. It's definitely.
No, I like how your podcasts have turned out when you've been doing that. That's
it's fun. It's very
really
unassuming.
Good.
People can't tell because when I bring up the microphone, it is like you saw it. You wouldn't tell. It's just like a cool microphone on the end of a phone. You get really great sound, but you wouldn't like.
It's informal.
It's very informal because I could just like be like, hey. Let's record. You're like, recording right now? What's even going on? I don't know. So it is fun, and that's been kind of some of the charm of it. So we'll see if we can do some more of that. But yeah, Ryan and the club are going to be hanging out with us. I'm excited to see how they bring it and go. So let's do it. Dollar beers, Gabe pointed out here.
Yeah, dollar beers at Orange County. It's crap dollar beers.
Obviously, free beers on the bus. If you're on the bus, you paid for the beer already. Yeah.
I will say I was at Stone Escondido earlier and picked up over 160 beers. And I know Kim D, who I did see on this, she hooked us up by going to Second Chance and picking up 116 beers from them. So we are well stocked for tomorrow. Again, like I said, we know that if we win, we clinch second place. So we are prepping for the party on the way home. I'll say that.
That is the goal.
So yeah, plenty of beer. There'll be snacks.
Oh, the aforementioned Darren and Jordan also riding on the bus, built in. We can leave them if we choose to. So they've been they think we're going to leave them. We're not going to leave them, but they're very afraid of it.
Awesome.
Because Jordan and Darren both keep being like, "You sure you guys gonna wait until we're done with our post show?" I'm like, "I don't know. Can we get some of those Buena Vistas from the set that you guys are always talking about?" Or, but no, we'll be fine on beers. I don't think we need that Buena Vista from the set. But yeah, they'll be riding as well. So it'll be all of your favorite friends from the loyal and local universe there. And again, I think the ticket sales offhand who aren't riding the bus as well is much increased from what it was last time. So I'm hoping for a pretty full away supporter section here at Orange County. It is our closest rival. It is a very cush, nice little stadium, and maybe a few surprises along the way. Maybe we'll have some food surprises, some entertainment surprises. I don't know. We'll find out.
We will. We indeed will find out.
Any analysis preparation you have for the game tomorrow, or we're just gonna have a great time, and that's that's the sole purpose
Yeah, I mean, no.
of this hype.
Orange County's a good team. They always play us tough.
They do. They like to bunker. They like to play hard. I would say my analysis is they're gonna have to play forward. They don't usually like to do that. They like to play a little bit more bunker and counter, and for them to advance for their season again, like we played, and this is where these games should get more fun. They should be more open. We shouldn't watch a ball kicked around for like 30 minutes without anybody trying to do anything. These teams should be trying to advance, and at least in Orange County's case, trying to score on us, which helps us because typically they don't, and gives us a little bit more of a chance to get it in on them. But last time we played there, they played us very tight. They do a great job. Set pieces specifically is something to watch out for, and Steve, sorry, yeah, you were saying they play us tough. I think that's
they do. They just always seem to have a good game against us. I mean, obviously, we had a draw at their stadium earlier this year. We lost, and then they beat us here as well. So they're a good team. There's no two ways about it. They've struggled against some, here and there, but they seem to be in good form right now as well. But tomorrow's game is a huge game. I saw Guido put on Instagram earlier, biggest game of the season. The players feel it. This is the fight for second place. This is the fight for that home playoff spot, which really does mean a lot. Like, I mean, I mentioned this, but we play way better at home than we do away. And so if we can get a really good start to the playoffs by hosting, say, Colorado Springs or San Antonio, which is likely, we'll play the third place team in the Mountain, and those two teams are pretty tight in second and third. But if we can get a good result against one of those two teams, that'll be fun. That'll really kick us into gear for the playoffs. The game after that would likely be away at El Paso, and they're a really good team as well. But again, we've played really good teams really, really well. Obviously, the draw against Phoenix earlier in the season when they came back and scored 2 goals after 90 minutes was devastating, but we played 90 minutes of amazing soccer against probably the best team in USL. So it's in there. And if we can get a good start to the playoffs, it can really, it can dig up that team that we all know we can be. So I'll go to the comments here and say how many fans turn out, Johnny, in the away in the supporters in Orange County. They have a decent crowd. I'll say that. And last time we were up there, their supporters are good supporters. I went over and kind of shook some hands and did what I could, but they were good people. So I'll say that about the Orange County crowd.
Yeah.
I expect this. They know that tomorrow is going to be a huge game for them as well, and I expect them to turn out.
They're legit. They're like the Outlaws in the sense of they want to grow the sport and be nice. Like when we went to LA, they were fantastic. They were good hosts. Unfortunately, these Orange County supporters just aren't as big. Like there's just not as many of them because Orange County is sometimes, I'm going to say, a hellhole of a place, even though it shares a lot of DNA with us. The culture just seems to drop off a cliff there for whatever reason.
I think there's a lot of fans that drive up to like Galaxy games or those.
That's
kind
true.
Of things
and are regionally fans. Right. Exactly. They don't support their local. They don't. I will say, just I lived in Orange County for a couple of years. People there are just like, I don't do B League or second division or whatever, and that's just the way people roll there, and that's how they think. And unfortunately, they miss out on cool stuff like this, or the underground punk scene. That's awesome. So, there's all sorts of stuff that's great in Orange County, but unfortunately, sometimes it's harder to start groups like this because people just aren't as about that community for whatever reason. And they have tried, and they've tried doing a great job. And so we sometimes will be like, oh, well, yeah, they only got X amount of people or whatever, but you can only do so much, right? You can only do what you've got. And luckily, we've got amazing people here in San Diego who have grown this thing and made it awesome. And so thank you to you for being part of what is a great community. But just be respectful in a lot of ways. I don't think I have a problem with this group doing that, but not really expecting any problems. Just don't drink too many dollar PBRs, and we'll be all right, guys. Just be nice to the County Line Coalition, as they call themselves, and general Orange County fan, just you know don't rub too many elbows, but I think we will surprise a few people with our sound and our presence, as we tend to do in some of these stadiums where they're not used to having a club like ours be able to travel regionally and put up the numbers that we do, surprising people like New Mexico did for us this last weekend. So let's keep that vibe going. And I love that part of it. It was definitely fun at the LA Galaxy game to have a lot of people just looking over at us like, why are these people so loud?
Yeah,
Why are there so many of them at this Los Dos game? And we're like, well, it's our team's, season. Let's go.
Awesome. Yeah.
So let's keep doing that kind of thing. And yeah. So any major news, Steve, about the game? Otherwise, let's get into bus details, man. Where's the bus picking up? Where can I get on this bus if I'm ticketed and ready to go?
So we will fly through, I think, this a little bit. I did send an email earlier today to all passengers on the bus who signed up with their emails with all of these details. But just to reiterate really quickly, 3:30 from Balboa Park, the same location we did last time. In the email, there's a link to a pin. There's not really an address to point to specifically, so there's a pin. Please follow that pin.
Yeah, Inspiration Point parking lot. If you're trying to follow signage at all, that's what you're looking for. But it's a pin. Just follow the pin, as Steve said.
Yeah, and then 4:15-ish from Encinitas. Again, in that email, I did send my personal cell phone number. If you're running late, shoot me a text. I don't want the bus to be like leaving if you're parking, if you're like super close. But we can't hold the bus up if you're running really late. So those are the 2 times for pickup. Again, beer is included. Do have some seltzers. There's some other stuff that we're doing. Otherwise, it's just the camaraderie. It's the friendship. It's kind of the spirit. It's an amazing time. I will say, and Drew, you know this, and everybody else in leadership who's helped, Kim, Nicole, Travis, everybody who's helped. It's a lot of work. There's no doubt about that. But you get on that bus and you crack your first beer and you kind of you just enjoy kind of the togetherness that brings. You're there for one reason and it's just to build community and support your club. So it's awesome. It's awesome at the end of the day. So nothing else from my end. On the bus. I'm so excited.
Me too, man. I was trying to play with dry ice earlier, and I decided I'm not going to do that. So it's for a fun project. Maybe for the next bus trip, we'll try and pull it off. But not this one. But yeah, there's so many fun things that just come out of this that are totally, again, about the community, about people being together and sharing an experience. And that's what we're hoping to provide for you. Just let us know, again, at any time. Please reach out. Communication is key, and by the time you're listening to this, the bus will probably be on its way and already going. So don't dwell on this too much. But the one thing beyond that as locals news that we'd really like to make sure you hear before we move into some other general-ish topics that'll be kind of fun to round out the podcast is we're going to have our Player of the Year voting going out at our 1024 match for Player of the Year voting, right? So it's going to be, that's our last home match. It's our last chance to present a Player of the Year award. Or last
regular season
match, sorry. We'll have our playoff match. But yeah, that's the idea, is we'd like to make sure that we get our voting out so that everybody can vote for Player of the Year, and it'll be a even fancier award for that player as opposed to Player of the Game, but a similar idea to what we do for our Player of the Game, but it'll be chosen from previous Player of the Game recipients to then choose our Player of the Year. Steve, sorry. Yes.
No, I was going to say, we've done man of the match voting individual weeks. So this is kind of a chance to do Player of the Year. And do, Drew, you kind of recapped it perfectly, kind of a special thing. 1024 is, again, likely is not going to be our last game. It's very likely that we will host a game. Obviously, if we host a playoff game, obviously if we win tomorrow, that's clinched. But we did want to do the Player of the Year at the end of the regular season to recap the regular season Player of the Year. And again, This is kind of this is a really rad idea.
Who's yours, Steve?
Travis. Oof, I'm not sure I'm going to reveal that right away.
Wow. Well, the good thing is it's ranked choice voting, so
Yeah.
you don't
I
have
think
to
I need to
choose
think about
just
it a
one.
little bit, really. But
Yeah, you can rank them. So you can rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think up to 16 or so
right.
is how many we had or so. So it's you can rank them in there and choose. And that's what I found myself doing. Was actually I went through, I lined them up, and then I kind of redid it 2 or 3 times until I felt confident. And it's actually 2 through 6 is much harder. My 1 was pretty solid, pretty strong on my 1. So,
but that's going to go out very soon, and it's not going to have a super long
uptime
voting opportunity because we're going to present that this weekend. So that's
the
going to
idea.
be really rad. And shouts to Travis for the idea for buying what needs to be bought and designing what needs to be designed. This growler thing has really been spearheaded by you all season. So I just really want to give a huge shout out to you for the growlers, for doing it every week, for filling it every week, for keeping it cold.
It's amazing
week.
he got a job at Second
it's
Chance
awesome.
just to fill growlers. Wow.
But no, I want to make sure that proper credit is given.
Yes,
above
you're
and beyond.
man.
Yeah, no doubt. So, but yeah, so that's going to go up very soon. I would say tomorrow. I would say in the early half of the day, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll compile and Sunday the 24th on that podium will be a party. There's some other things going on that game that will be fun. Will be fun.
Will we have a Zonky out there,
celebration.
Steve? Can we have a Zonky?
I cannot confirm nor deny that there will be a Zonky. Okay. And the Zonky will have a growler.
The Zonky will have the growler in its mouth. You have to grab it out of its mouth.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's kind of wrapping up. Obviously, the 24th, our last game, Oakland Roots.
Yeah.
Oakland Roots, our last home regular season match. It obviously heavily depends on what happens tomorrow. If we win tomorrow, we clinch. I wouldn't say we're going to take it completely easy. You never want to go, complete rotation starting 11.
Especially in this sport.
Obviously after that is our final regular season match at Sacramento on October 30th. And again, all how those matches are looked at and viewed and the tempo and all that stuff is heavily dependent on how tomorrow's match goes. If we win, we clinch. If we draw, I think it's very likely we still get second place. If we lose, it's a whole other ballgame. So tomorrow's match, like Guido said on Instagram, it's one of the biggest matches of the season. And so we have to bring it as locals, traveling support, to let the players know that we also know that this is a huge game and we want to host that playoff game. So I am planning on bringing it hard as I usually do, but maybe turning it up another notch. So let's go.
I was going to bring it over easy, but after your speech, I'm going to turn it up to hard. So
very good.
No, the other stuff, yeah, I feel like let's just touch on this a bit while we close out here. We're just at an hour here, but everybody's curious about it, and there's a lot of talk about it, including in our Discord, is the Midway Village Plus. So this last week before the match, there was a meeting / unveiling of what we've heard rumblings about, and we've been told there's a little more here than there was previously, so you should pay attention. And we did a decent job recapping this in the podcast last time, but it is a new proposal. The city said to Brookfield, who eventually, or not Brookfield, I think actually it might be Brookfield, whoever won the sports arena site last time, doesn't matter. Threw it out, not enough affordable housing. Let's get rid of that. And the focus on this bidding to take over what is currently the sports arena site has come around again. And the focus is affordable housing this time, with an emphasis on obviously sports arena and sports entertainment options. And so the team proposal that came forward last time that Loyal was a part of, that involved a redone and then eventually new arena, as well as I believe, pond and, a decent amount of housing, as well as partially, and this was not a permanent fixture, but a temporary, I think about 10 years is what they were allotting previously. Seems to be similar now, is at least a 10-year home for San Diego Loyal on the site of where the current lumber yard sits there on adjacent the sports arena property to build a temporary or modular stadium similar to what Phoenix has in I was going to say Carson, but it's just the other C name, Chandler. But yes, similar to what they have in Chandler, and be able to host games. They're up to about 15,000 people, starting with probably a 10 to 12,000 seater, with the ability to scale up to a 15,000 seater, but a home for soccer that's a soccer specific stadium that's able to probably host things even like the Legion, maybe NWSL. Those are all prospective things, but obviously Loyal is the spearhead on the project, and the people who have joined in with this group that includes a lot of other different developers as well as sports entertainment people like Live Nation. And so this site, very similar proposal to last time. The one major difference, though, Steve, is that where Phil's Barbecue sits now. Do you know where that is? Next to the sports arena? Yeah. They want to build a 20,000 seat permanent stadium for soccer. And so that is the one, and that is a add-on. I'm still not positive whether or not that's a take or leave it, or if that's a you can, whether it's all part of the proposal. But I would say that's the major addition for us soccer fans to pay attention to, is the fact that this could be a gateway to a permanent home as well, which that would be a massive deal for us, considering the fact that that's something that we've always wanted, and we've on this very podcast for the last hour talked about several of the limitations that happen when you don't have your own venue, when you have to share a venue, and when you're in a place where that venue has other priorities that aren't sports. In this case, USD, their main priority is learning as well as their own sports. And so for us, this would give us a lot of opportunities, right? So as fans, we're not naturally excited. I think everybody's excited about the proposition of this. As a supporters group, we are here to give vocal support or just vocal feedback. I think if you're somebody who lives in Midway, or if you have a stake in Midway as a business or anything like that, give feedback on how you think this project will affect you. Seems like a lot of you did that before. I don't think you'll have a problem doing it again, but it is something that I find to be kind of interesting, man. I do think this seems to be, and the timeline on this, by the way, just to give you an idea, is that it wouldn't actually, the temporary stadium would actually happen pretty right away, almost by 2024, they're saying. 2023, 2024, you'd have a temporary stadium there. So I don't believe next season or the season after, but the season after that. So it would be going through most of that 3 to 4 year original lease term that they laid out at USD, then going over to something like this. And then they're actually saying that for the permanent stadium, that wouldn't break ground or come up until about 2029, which is when the lease for that like Phil's Barbecue area goes up as well. So that's the timeline for it. So it's not something that would happen tomorrow, but it is something that could be a pretty big deal moving forward with this club, Steve. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I don't see it happening even without like 1,000 other legal challenges that get in the way at some point. And we're still sitting here in 2026 going, oh no, what about this new ordinance from the governor? And what does it mean for the stadium that's going to get built in 3 years? Like I still could see all of that happening, even if it goes correctly. But it's exciting. It's good to see that there's something out there that's not necessarily just playing in another college football stadium or anything like that. It's good to see progress and an option, even if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here learning. I will say that this proposal and this information has kind of come out over the last few days. Since the match on Sunday, I've been pretty bus focused, and I haven't really had a whole lot of chances to get my head out of the sand from either work or local stuff or taking care of my insane 20-month-old son. So I'm learning here. That's all awesome to hear. I've been saying for years that the sports arena site is a perfect spot for a permanent soccer stadium, and it would be a dream come true. And it's hard to keep saying that, but it would be. So I'm definitely gonna do my homework. I'm definitely gonna look into it as much as I possibly can. But I'm just here to say, right now I'm definitely learning from the information you're telling me. Because I just haven't had a chance to do that research yet. So that all sounds
We've been
amazing.
busy with a bus trip and games.
I really hope it works out, but I need to do a little bit more homework before I put my stamp on it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody needs to. The nice part is, as voters and even non-voters here, if you aren't in the city of San Diego, it's ultimately up to the San Diego City Council is who's voting on this. So the nice part is, as voters, and we don't, and maybe campaigns, things like that nature. We don't have to really worry about that the same way we have with previous proposals and things that Steve and I have vocally been a part of. That I think has given us a different outlook on some of this stuff. Sometimes going into it is that, hey, it'd be awesome, it'd be really great, but you have to focus on what's here now and what we're trying to do now. Especially since we have a team and we've got a great atmosphere, we've got a great culture here, we've got a great setup. At USD, it's still a great setup, even if it's not ideal 100%. It's great. So I do think part of that is just keeping it all in perspective. But ultimately, the nice thing is we don't have to have a big win or lose moment. It's just going to progress how it's going to progress, and if it's the right thing for that area, and it's the right thing for those people, and it's the right thing for our club, which it seems like it could be, that would work out really nicely. So we thought it was worth a mention here just to kind of recap and get everybody in it. But even more important, a former host of this podcast left this podcast apparently to become a male model. That's what I'm hearing. Is that he thought his talents were being underappreciated in a verbal, audible medium, even though he does great with words as well. I think that he sees himself as a visual icon, as a sex symbol. Maybe not his wife and children, who are also modeling the Dia de los Muertos merch alongside him, but Jerry, our former beloved co-host of this podcast, was wearing some of our. Another shout out to Travis. We need like a button or like a sound, like shout out to Travis, because like we just do it like 16 times in podcasts. But Travis designed a lot of this, maybe all of it, new Dia de los Muertos merch for Loyal that is absolutely incredible. It's some of my favorite stuff. Whenever they lean into the Leal, I like to say, whenever they go in that direction, they create beautiful stuff that's awesome. So, and usually it's because they're tapping Travis for some of those designs, but it really is incredible merch. And again, the models for it are also incredible. We love you, Jerry. We think you look great. And maybe Nydia and the boys look a little better, but I think sure. he would say that too.
I put my word behind that one. But yeah, it turned out amazing, as expected, whenever they tap Travis, like you said. So again, shouts to Travis, shouts to the club for continuing to put out quality stuff. But yeah, just wanted to give a quick shout out there. The last little bit I think we can wrap up right after this would be we still have a lot of locals kits. People who bought locals kits and selected pickup, please reach out to us. We can bring them to the matches in the stadium if you can't make it before the game. We want to get you guys your stuff. If you selected pickup, but now you want to do shipping, again, reach out to us. Social media, our DMs are open. So shoot us an email. However you can reach us, please do. There's ways that we want to get these to you. We've had them for over a month now. And we really, really, really want to get these to you guys. They've obviously turned out amazing. I'm so happy with how they turned out. So again, just reach out. We want to get these to you in hand, however we possibly can. So make that happen.
Yeah, we'll have them tomorrow at the parking lot for the bus, for instance. So if you're riding the bus, we can get you your kit. If you are not riding the bus, probably not going to be able to get it to you because it'll probably be under the bus or in my car, which will leave in San Diego. So, but if you are riding the bus from Balboa specifically, and if you are not riding from Balboa, you can always text or email us back to the email you got today. And you probably aren't listening to this, so all of that's great. But either way, if you're a person with a kit, get back to us. And that goes for any merch. If you have any outstanding merch, let us know, and we will definitely get it to you. And our goal is by the next month or so to hound you to where you have outstanding merch and do everything short of driving it to your house, and maybe even do that. But we'll make sure we close out everybody's merch here by the end of 2021. So just make sure to keep your eyes out for Player of the Year voting. Make sure to keep your eyes out for a raucous bus from here to Orange County tomorrow. I'm good, man. Just don't wear orange. That's my only rule, Glenn, who keeps bringing it up in the Discord. I was going to wear orange. Glenn, why are you even thinking of wearing orange to Orange County, man? That sounds like it's just a a rife proposition. He is correct though. I think there was one or two times we played them and we wore orange, which I still think is like the weirdest thing. like I don't know how we pulled that, but it's like, yeah, that should probably not happen. We should probably not wear the team we're playing with the color that their county is, associated with. But we appreciate everybody coming out here.
Yes, thank
on
you for
a Tuesday
tuning in.
night. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, great number for everybody coming out tonight.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
we'll keep doing these again, and we will try and do some more fun on the road type stuff as well. But give us the feedback, give us the ideas, and we'll run with it. But Steve, anything else you got, man?
I got nothing else. I'm just so stoked for tomorrow, and I think we're gonna hang. I'm going to hang around here if you are, Drew, for a few more minutes, and let's see what after hours brings us. But that's all I got. That's all I got for this week, and I think we'll be back next week.
Let's say bye.
All right.
I'm Drew. This is Steve. Let's go. When the song would play, there was a song.
We'll put it in later.
We'll put it in. We'll do it in post.